Welcome to the Love Spark Podcast. We are your hosts, Tonya
and Stevi Maveros.
If you want to hear a Midwest millennial couple talk through real practice and exploration of relationship tools and resources,
and if you appreciate a bit of authentic and vulnerable commentary along the way,
then the Love Spark Podcast is for you. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you are listening, as well as give us a 5-star rating and letting us know what you learned. It really helps out the show.
Also, don't forget to visit the website, milovespark.com, to check out upcoming events, workshops, and opportunities to ask us questions.
You can also follow us at Love Spark Dates on Instagram and Facebook.
All right, let's dive into this week's chapter of The 7 Principles of Making Marriage Work by Dr. John Gottman and Nan Silver. Hello to all of our fabulous listeners. Welcome to this week's episode of the Love Spark Podcast. Today we're going to be covering Chapter 9 in the 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work. This will be covering Principle 5, Solve Your Solvable Problems.
Yes.
Sweetness?
Yes. And as we like to do, if you are tuning in, we're going to start off with a little bit of an excerpt from the book to kind of give you context about what this is really going to cover. And I really like this one because it's really, really important. I feel like a lot of couples can probably relate to this. And I think when you hear it, you go, oh, right? So let me take my glasses off.
Put your readers on.
I'm not wearing contacts. I can't put my readers on. Okay. It stands to reason that when a husband and wife respect each other and are open to each other's point of view, they have a good basis for resolving any differences that arise. And yet, too often, couples lose their way when trying to persuade each other or settle disagreements. A conversation that could have been productive instead ends in a screaming match or angry silence. If this sounds like you, and you're certain the problem you want to tackle is indeed solvable, then the key to resolving this difficulty is to learn a new approach to settling conflict. The advice offered here will also be somewhat helpful in coping with gridlock problems, but it won't be enough. So, one thing to keep in mind here is that this book does traditionally reference men and women as husband and wife because it's the principles for making marriage work, but also even though they did the research on all kinds of couples, gay, straight, lesbian, bi, all these different things, they really reference men and women because there are differences physiologically when it comes to going through like conflict and the way that there is a little bit of communication and the way to navigate things. And so if you are listening to this and it always says husband and wife, just know the reason for that is because they also point to key physiological signs that come up during marriage and conflict.
Right. And also just be aware, of course, that you may fall somewhere different than your assigned at birth sex as far as your physiological response. I know, obviously we are 2 women, but I certainly feel more prone to flooding than you seem to be. So I'd say my physiological response even aligns more in the middle between men and women than, more on the female side. Yeah. So just interpret that to however you feel it's most useful, if it's useful in your relationship. Don't discount it just because the majority is talking about heterosexual couples.
Very good point, my love. I do appreciate that. Then it continues on to say, the popular approach to conflict resolution advocated by many marital therapists is to attempt to put yourself in your partner's shoes while listening intently to what he or she says and then to communicate with empathy that you see the dilemma from his or her perspective. It's not a bad method if you can do it. But as I've seen, many couples can't, including many happily married couples. Plenty of the people we study who had enviable, loving relationships did not follow the experts' rules of communication when they argued, but they were still able to resolve their own conflicts. So really it comes down to the fact that it is a good tool, I guess you could say, to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. But I can promise you, when I'm highly upset, that's the last damn thing I want to do is be like, let me see how I could be like this person and what they're feeling, you know? And so
Let me embody the lazy partners not doing the dishes and
yeah,
see how they feel. Oh, let me
yeah,
guess.
yeah. And so I appreciate that they're recognizing that, first of all, having been to marriage therapy in my last marriage, that was one of the very common tactics. And in my head was a slew of annoyance and thinking, what the F are you fucking talking about?
mm,
So I do appreciate that there is that recognition that it doesn't actually go so well. And if you have been to a space and a point in time where you find it difficult to do that because it's a consistent conversation, like you need some different tools. And so one of the ways to really navigate through that is by understanding how do you start a conversation that could lead to
mhm.
a negative experience. It's also understanding how do you repair within the moment or maybe shortly thereafter if things did get a little out of hand. And
Yeah.
then recognizing that you have to take ownership of your side of the conflict by being able to soothe yourself if you do find
Mhm.
that you are becoming flooded or you are feeling so much that you really can't pay attention to the conversation. And then also understanding you have to yield to win. You need to compromise because the point here is not about being proven right. It's about solving the problem as a couple. You are coming together to solve the problem, not to
As a
win.
team.
Yes. And then also, it's important to understand that maybe you do have to process some past hurts or grievances that have happened so they don't linger because really that lingering sensation or that lingering problem is really what slowly eats away at a relationship or a marriage.
Yeah, that's what creates the resentment that really drives people apart.
Yeah. And one of the last things that he covers in here is really just understanding that when we fight or if things aren't going the way that we would like them to, the way that we speak to our partners is probably not a way that we would speak to our friends, right? So, like, if
Mhm.
your friend came over and they happen to forget their umbrella and now they are going to try to borrow yours, you're not going to be there and be like, oh my God, what's so wrong with you? Why are you constantly forgetting things for God's sake? Right?
Mhm.
Instead, you'd be like, oh, you know what? No worries. I got you. Go ahead and take my umbrella, borrow it, just bring it back to me the next time we see each other.
Yeah, I do actually love how they talk about how you should think to treat your husband or wife more like an acquaintance in your conflict. On page 162, they actually say, keep in mind as you work your way through these steps that what's really being requested of you is no more than what would be asked if you were dealing with an acquaintance, much less the person who has vowed to share his or her life with
I
you.
love that. I actually highlighted that too.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's such a good point because yes, you have higher expectations for the
Mm-hmm.
person that you share your life with, but having higher expectations doesn't mean that you should approach them with less respect
Mm-hmm.
and less kindness than you would approach someone who you have lower expectations for.
Very true.
Right?
And
And I think that's the part that gets lost in there is like, but I need more from this person than from an acquaintance or whatever. Yeah, but you still got to offer the bare minimum to your partner.
very
And the
true.
bare minimum that you would offer to an acquaintance is some mutual respect. So you have to be able to start there.
Preach.
I will.
Can I also say, one of the things that I love about this book, and if you haven't noticed, we keep circling back to Dr. Rory, right?
Oh my goodness,
Because
yes.
I don't know if
The one
Dr.
guy.
Rory, if you ever hear this or you recognize that you are in this book, sir, you are a great learning lesson for all people.
Mm,
With that being said, Dr. Gottman does actually circle back to Dr. Rory in this, because so if you've been listening, you know what happens. If not, basically Dr. Rory and his wife aren't being connected. She tries to surprise him at work with a picnic, and he basically is spewing venom at her because he didn't like that she was there. But then
He felt embarrassed.
but then a resident, I can't remember if the resident called.
It was a phone
It was a
call,
call.
yeah.
So the resident called, and it was like he flipped a switch, and he was like very pleasant and kind and charming. And then as soon as the phone hung up, he went back to being an asshole to his wife.
I mean, we've all seen it happen.
I mean,
we see it on TV and stuff all the time.
100%.
But even within your own household, like, who hasn't seen it happen with their mother when they're in trouble?
Oh my God, right?
Like, what? Have you, I don't know a single person in this world who hasn't had the clenched teeth whisper yell at them from their mother, who then stands up and smiles right into the face of the next person they're talking to, like nothing is happening at all.
1,000%.
Right? Like, we grow up seeing it all the time, but but your partner's not your kid, and it's not cool.
Very
like, don't
true.
do that.
Very
You gotta be nice.
Yeah. So do you want to dive into, okay, wait. Before we dive in, one of the things that we need to cover, because we're going to start with the soft startup, that's step one, like we had just talked about.
Yeah. So as we go through the workbook, the first exercise is, in solving your solvable problems, you have to start with how you start.
So one key factor here, especially for our hetero couples, it does not matter whether you are happily or unhappily married.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, it is the woman who will bring up conversations that could potentially lead to conflict. And the reason for this is because men are most likely to get flooded or to have a strong physiological response that keeps them from actually being able to focus and navigate the conversation. So when we go through this, just keep in mind that in all
men tend to
likelihood,
be more avoidant, or the more masculine leaning partner tends to be more avoidant because of their proneness to flooding.
yes, but in all likelihood, it will probably be the more female identified person bringing up the topic. And with that being said, the more female identifying person also tends to start with a harsh startup versus a soft startup. Their startup is usually more harsh.
I guess I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. So something to keep in mind as we move through this.
So, all right. So, exercise 1 in chapter 9 is soften your startup. So, we have our workbook, page 53, not the book, the workbook.
Very good point.
I'll just go ahead and read what the workbook says. By observing the way many happy couples talked about their problems, Dr. Gottman identified 5 steps for resolving solvable problems. Step 1, soften your startup. Step 2, learn to make and receive repair attempts. Step 3, soothe yourself and each other. Step 4, compromise. Step 5, process any grievances so that they don't linger. The way you start a conversation is predictive of the way that it will end.
Ooh, can I just add, statistically speaking, Dr. Gottman, and actually, now that I do this more, I can totally do it too. But for him, he can tell you how the conversation will go within the first 3 minutes based upon the startup.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think most of us kind of instinctively know that to a certain degree, right? Like, we're really good at doing this at work, I would say. Most of us know that, I mean, can you get more cliche than you catch more flies with honey than vinegar, right? How true is that? So the same rule applies to this. So the rules for a softened startup There are 6 rules, okay? I feel is rule 1. You state what you feel with an I statement, not a you statement. I feel upset, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
About what? Describe the situation neutrally with facts, not about what your partner's doing or not doing, just about what is done or not done. I need. Tell your partner what you need in order to make things better. Be polite, give appreciations, and don't store up complaints. Okay, so the rules first off and start up again. I feel about what I need. Be polite, give appreciation, don't store up complaints. If that doesn't make sense yet, then just keep listening and we're going to go through it.
I appreciate that. So a couple of things to keep in mind about this activity. There's actually 6 scenarios that start with a harsh startup, and then it's your job to fill in the soft startup. So what would the alternative be? However, we only did 3, and we actually picked I would say the top 3. I don't want to say top 3, but we picked 3 scenarios that are quite common within relationships to really kind of dive into. And so the other one, and one of these actually leads to our another later activity or slash exercise. But it's just important to remember that this process can take time, especially if it's not something that you're used to doing. One, it can feel really weird. It can feel totally fake and phony. And that's no different than if you are learning to play tennis and you've never played before, and that feels really weird and it's not usual until your body gets used to that. And so this is kind of the same thing, right? When you're beginning to change your habits and behavior, it may feel weird, it may feel fake, but it will ultimately turn for the better once you do it. The more practice you make, the more progress you make.
Right. Like when you started learning calligraphy and you had to learn like how to hold that really weird pen.
Yeah, I love
And
that pen though.
yeah, but like you hold the pen entirely differently. And I remember you saying how weird it felt at first, but that it actually worked super well. And like you were really impressed with how smooth it was once you got past that initial discomfort.
Also, can I just take a minute to address our listeners? So I know that I sound like I probably smoked a pack of cigarettes yesterday, which I kind of did because we went to a concert. And so there was lots of vape, lots of weed, and lots of smoke machine smoke, and then lots of yelling and screaming and singing out loud. So if we sound a little rough, it's because we had a night.
We did have a night. It was a good night,
Yeah.
but a little harsh on the vocals.
Yeah.
For
Okay.
sure.
You want to get us started with number 1?
All right, yes. So, scenario number 1 that we're going to approach. When your mother in law visits tonight, you plan to tell her how much it hurts when she criticizes your parenting skills. You want your partner, who is very defensive when it comes to their mother, to back you up. Harsh startup. I can't stand it when your mother comes over.
That's fighting words already, honestly.
I mean, yeah, fair.
Yeah.
I mean, between the two of us, if I was saying that, that would be fighting words because your mother's wonderful. If you were saying that, I would just agree with you.
My mom is pretty fabulous, honestly.
She is, but she's never criticized my parenting either. So
that's also true. She's never criticized my parenting.
Which is, I'm just saying, she's just such a respectful woman. I really appreciate that about her.
Yeah.
All right. So, what is your softened alternative?
Oh, I get to go first?
Yes.
Okay.
I want to know how identical they are.
Okay, I'm going to go first, but I'm going to tell you it's probably going to be a little bit different because of a thought. Anyways, here's what I put.
Okay.
I feel anxious about your mother coming over. I know I can be short with her after she criticizes my parenting. Can you please back me up on this and ask her to keep her comments to herself? Parenting is already hard without outside judgment.
I like that.
Thank you.
That's nice.
Here's why.
Okay.
So the difference is in this scenario, it said the wife, well,
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming it's the wife.
Yeah.
It basically said that the partner was going to have this conversation with the mom
Mm-hmm.
and they wanted the spouse to back them up.
Yes.
However, I think that because the spouse already is protective of their mother, that
Mm.
it really should be on them to be the one. It doesn't have to be a full conversation, but they need to be the one to put a pin in it. And so
Mm.
not only are you saying how you feel, exactly what the problem is, but now you're actually asking your partner to back you up by being the person to address the problem.
Mm. Interesting.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. My softened alternative was, I know I haven't always been good at standing up to your mother, but I can't handle any more criticism from her. Will you please help me communicate to her that she needs to be kinder or at least back off?
Ooh, baby, that was really good.
Thanks.
That was really good.
Well, and this was one where I thought we might have probably between the three that we picked, this would probably be the most different because I did approach it from my perspective of like I've been more conflict avoidant in life in general. And so I'm coming at it from the aspect of not having stood up before
Mm,
and like having this be the first time like I'm going to say something because I'm just at my breaking point with this.
yeah.
And like you don't need to be rude about it, but I need you to help communicate it. If it's
Hmm.
like if the way that I say it doesn't work, that's fine, but you need to help me get the point
Yeah,
across. Because, you can respect your mother and still tell her something,
that's fair.
you know?
And I actually, I really like the approach that you took with it.
Mm,
On the conscious level where you're like, I know that this is something that I've struggled with, and so I still need that practice and I want my partner to back me. And when
mm-hmm,
I think about it for myself,
mm-hmm,
this was not on a conscious level, but I'm a person that it doesn't actually bother me to have those kinds of conversations.
yeah.
However, I'm very well aware and know that maybe my approach won't be the best. And
Mm,
also, I am very well aware that sometimes it needs to be the the actual child of the parent to make those conversations. And
that's
so
that's fair.
I like the way that we approached both of these,
Mm,
honestly. It was
yeah.
really good,
Yeah. Definitely coming at it from the different perspectives that we would have because
as we
we
do.
are. Yeah, but I mean, not every couple is as different from each other as we are.
That's true. All right. So, our second scenario that we
Mm.
decided to cover was number 4, which is you're upset that you've not made love in some time. You're feeling unsure that your partner finds you attractive. You wish that the two of you could make love tonight. Harsh startup. You're so cold to me. You never appreciate my body anymore. For real, though. Like, you want to be making some love tonight, and that is the approach you take?
Yeah.
No, no.
Yeah, you're not gonna get super
You're not
far. I don't
getting
care who you're
you're not
talking
getting
to. You're
anybody's
not getting
pants.
Yeah, you're not getting far with that one.
No, you're not. So you want to start us off with your softened startup?
Sure. My softened alternative is I know I'm not always good about initiating sex, but I really miss connecting with you. Can we take some time tonight to reconnect?
Mm, I like it.
Keeping
Yes,
it simple,
yes, we can.
Mhm.
Okay, so mine says, it's been a while since we've been intimate, and I feel like I miss you. I should have mentioned it sooner. Can we please go to bed early tonight so we can connect on a more physical level?
A little more explicit than like the way I
Yeah,
went about it,
yeah.
which I can appreciate.
I hear, when I was writing it, because I was going to say, can we just take some time to connect?
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to put a period there. And then my brain was like, but you want to have sex. And so, like, you could say connect, and you could easily do that with like a lot of cuddles, which is great. But like, the goal is we want to get it in. And so we should probably make sure we are explicitly saying that when I mean
Get it
connect,
in
I mean like connect.
physically.
physically.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Like I said, I liked how explicit you were.
Thank you.
Explicit meaning like specific.
Yes.
Not just because you used the word sex out loud.
Did I use the word sex? I didn't use this word sex out loud. Not in the whole thing.
Oh, I did. All right.
6.
6. So the last scenario that we picked, you wish the two of you could save more money. Harsh startup. You don't have a clue how to manage money. Very nice.
Ouch.
Call your partner stupid. It's a good way to start out.
I mean,
All right, my love. So tell us, what is your softened alternative?
my softened alternative was I've been feeling anxious about our savings lately, and I know I have some responsibility in where it's at. I'd really appreciate if we could sit down and take the first step of growing it by agreeing on a goal saving amount.
Nice.
Take
Okay.
the first step of growing it by agreeing on a goal amount.
Okay.
So I did that because if we are two people who can't talk about money as it is, we
Mm,
sure the heck are not going to be able to sit down and have this lengthy conversation about how are we going to grow our savings, right?
okay.
Because then we start getting into the nitpicky, the details, and I feel like that's where if you're not good at that conversation, that's where it can fall apart into the details. And
Mm,
so I think that at least agreeing to an amount is a good first step. And the conversation about what could the amount be, you're going
yeah.
to have to kind of bring in a few details about like work hours and money or whatever. But I feel like an amount at least
Yeah.
could be a good first step.
Yeah. I like that you're taking the approach of being really specific with your startups.
Thank you.
I think that it almost takes the suggestions from the book a step further in that you're already offering solutions
Hmm.
or offering enough specifics to take some of the emotion out of it.
So, what was your softened alternative, my love?
All right, mine. I know I contribute to the issue, but I really want us to be able to save up for the things we want. Can you help me make a plan to help us save up faster?
Okay.
I wanted to because they did mention in the book that, sometimes it's hard to find in a problem like your role in it if you feel like you're doing everything you can in the situation,
Mm-hmm.
but that it's still so important to acknowledge that it isn't your partner's problem alone. I
Yeah.
don't think they say it like that in the book, but I think putting it on your partner makes it their problem instead of your problem as a couple.
Yeah.
And so, regardless of whether you feel like you actually are contributing to the problem, it is a problem you have, right? Like, I was listening to something between this couple. This guy was talking to his friend about how, like, his girlfriend has ADHD, and she just, like, the one thing that he is really struggling with is that she just doesn't even notice dishes in the sink,
Mm-hmm.
and it drives him nuts. And she just doesn't even notice, like, it's just like she has blinders on when she's walking past him. It's like, I just don't know what to do about it. Like, I've talked to her about it, and she doesn't get any better about it. It just drives me crazy. His friend was like, "We'll do the dishes." Because yeah, you're not contributing to the fact that there are unclean dishes in the sink because you always wash yours, but the problem is yours because you're being bothered by it.
Mm-hmm.
It is a joint problem. And the solution in that situation is kind of just to deal with the fact that you have a problem with it and she doesn't, so just deal with it.
Yeah.
Right? And like, I'm not saying that that's the solution most of the time, but like the fact that you are taking issue with something makes it partially something for you to own,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I think that just very simple saying, I know I contribute to this as well, but what can we do together?
Yeah.
Right? It does take a lot of that blame
Mm-hmm.
feeling out of it. Like it's your fault that this is. No, this is our problem. It's not about fault.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
Very good, my love.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, you guys got a little snippet of what it could sound like to have a softened startup. And just keep in mind that when you do your softened startup, you have an I feel statement. You are very specific about what the problem is, and not your partner, but the problem, what it is that you need from your partner to help solve this problem. Be polite, give appreciations, and don't store up complaints. Um, so, we're going to move on to repair attempts. And so when we talk about a repair attempt, really what it means is that in a lot of happy marriages, couples are able to send and receive repair attempts with ease. And really all that means is that if somebody has stepped out of line, stepped out of bounds, maybe hurt your feelings, maybe did something that wasn't kosher, if you will, you are able to, in that moment, bring it into a space where that person recognizes you've seen, you know what happens, right? You knew what happened. You're trying to move past the situation and come together as a team. However, in a lot of unhappy marriages, even the most beautifully put repair attempts aren't even noticed because we've already gotten to a space of annoyance and disagreement that you could blatantly say, I'm trying to repair this issue, and that would just come across as another reason to be angry, essentially. And so the one thing that's important to know is that you don't need for your marriage to improve before you start hearing repair attempts. And if you're in a space where when you do fight, you can't recognize those, there are some steps that can be taken to help with that. And so what it says is a happy couple's secret weapon. A repair attempt is a statement or action, silly or otherwise, that prevents negativity from escalating out of control. The success or failure of a couple's repair attempt is one of the main factors in which and whether their relationship is likely to flourish or flounder. Repair attempts are a secret weapon of emotionally intelligent couples, even though many couples aren't aware that they are employing something so powerful. That's so true.
Mm.
On the next page, you'll find a list of phrases you can say to de escalate the tension. And so, really, on this section, what it is, it's a 5-point questionnaire of true or false on where we stand with our repair attempts. And then the page next to that gives you a checklist of things that you can use as a repair attempt within your own relationship. And this is in the workbook.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it's a great idea that they suggest in the book that some couples have taken this page in the workbook. It's page 57, the Gottman repair checklist, and they actually put it on their
I do like
refrigerator.
that.
Because if it's something you're not good at,
Mm-hmm.
even if it feels a little forced and formal, it's a practice that is going to make such a big difference in how you address conflict that you have to push through the discomfort and just do it.
Right. And I think the other thing, too, that's important to recognize is that one of the reasons couples miss a repair attempt is
Mm.
because it's not sugar coated, right?
Yeah.
It's not blatantly obvious. It is not super eloquent. It can be something like, can we take a break?
Yeah.
And taking a break is okay. And I would say that maybe some of the issue with that specific repair is that a break means you're just never actually going to talk about it. And
Mm.
so if that is something that needs to happen for part of your repair attempt, and we've talked about this in other episodes, that you have to come back to it. You can't say, can we
Yes.
take a break, and then just never talk about it.
Yeah.
So you might not actually notice if your partner is trying to make a repair attempt because it isn't
Formal.
formal or fluffy or
Yeah.
sugary or
Or
flowery
obvious.
or obvious.
Yeah. So I like the repair checklist because they are not, I don't think all of them are obvious, but some of them are very obvious
Hmm.
just in the way that they're worded that, hey, I'm doing a thing from the book to try and soften,
Yeah.
to try and repair some of the hurt that's happening in this conflict right now.
Well, one of the other things that they talk about too is when it comes to the repair attempt, like
Mhm.
you might actually, so if you're in a space where you're consistently in disagreement and you really can't tell if your partner is giving a repair attempt, that you may have to say, this is a repair attempt until you start hearing it, right?
Yeah.
So, like, say what your repair attempt is first, and then let your partner know that's what it was until you can start actually recognizing them in a space of working together.
Right. Right. And remember that the reason that this is so critical is that feelings get hurt and heightened during conflict, but the thing that causes us to not be able to move forward or to get stuck is the lack of acknowledgement
Mm-hmm.
and the lack of repairing those hurts that happens. So if you can repair hurts in the midst of conflict,
Mm-hmm.
if you can de escalate in the midst of conflict, if you can kind of dissipate some of the tension in the midst of conflict, it keeps you from villainizing each
Yeah.
other. Because if you can keep the emotions a little more
Mm-hmm.
soothed and a little calmer, then it doesn't feel as much like an attack or a war between the two of you,
Fair.
right?
Yeah.
That's why it's so critical to make sure you're doing this and paying attention to it.
Yeah. So here's a checklist for our listeners of 5 questions. The first question is, we are good at taking breaks when we need them. 1, 2, 3.
True.
True. We can maintain a social, a social. We can maintain a sense of humor. 1, 2, 3.
True.
True. We are pretty good listeners, even when we have different positions on things. 1, 2, 3.
True.
True. If things get heated, we can usually pull out of it and change things. 1, 2, 3.
True.
True. My spouse is good at soothing me when I get upset.
True.
True. Okay, so we mark true for all of these, but these are some really great questions to ask yourself. If you haven't gotten the book or the workbook, these are 5 questions that you could kind of ask to know whether or not your repair attempts are working, and get a sense of how things are going within the relationship or how likely things are to go in the future.
Yes.
So the next part to the repair attempts is it does ask us to reflect and journal. What repair attempts do you feel most comfortable using? Would you like to go first, my love?
Sure. And I will say that these, for me, it's not necessarily that I picked ones that I'm most comfortable using as much as I recognize that these are the ones that I have used most often.
Oh, I
But I do find that I'm very comfortable using these
mm,
because I use them most often, even
mm,
if it was uncomfortable when I started. Because I will say some of these things are things I only have done with you and not
mm.
with other partners.
Okay, yeah,
But again, we were very intentional in how we set our relationship up.
that's very fair.
So, uh, my most so well, first, let me back up for a second before this. So the Gottman repair checklist, they break things down into different categories of repair attempts basically,
Hmm.
and there are 6 categories. I'm going to read the 3 given ones in each category, the top 3.
Oh, okay.
So, repair checklist, I feel. So 1, I'm getting scared. 2, please say that more gently. 3, did I do something wrong? Sorry is another category. 1, my reactions were too extreme. Sorry. 2, I really blew that one. 3, let me try again. Get to yes is another category. 1, you're starting to convince me. 2, I agree with part of what you're saying. 3, let's compromise here. Another category, I need to calm down. 1, can you make things safer for me? 2, I need things to be calmer right now. 3, I need your support right now. Another category is stop action. 1, I might be wrong here. 2, please let's stop for a while. 3, let's take a break. And the last category is I appreciate. 1, I know this isn't your fault. 2, my part of this problem is. 3, I see your point.
Okay, can I just tell you, I did not read any of that list to write my list. I just wrote what I like, inherently what it is that I did.
Which is what I did, but I wanted
Okay.
specifically to read their examples because I did glance through and I used the categories.
Fair enough.
So I only used 4 of the 6 categories that they gave, but I used sorry, I think is the most comfortable category for me. In general, I'm a pretty apologetic person.
Yeah.
But also, I think one of my strengths is being able to recognize my own mistakes and acknowledge and own them.
Yeah.
So the things that I say are, oh yeah, I fucked up. Or, oh wow, I'm sorry, you're right. When I realize that's what's happening. I also do a lot of getting to yes. Yes, I can see what you're saying. Does that mean blank? I will say during conflict, I do a lot of calm down, but it tends to be nonverbal. So I will reach for your hand to hold your hand when I'm starting to feel, like things like I need to calm down, or I might lean towards you to like get some cuddles while we're talking, or I might even ask you like, is it okay if I sit closer? Is it okay if I lean against you while we're talking about this?
You do that, and I really appreciate that you do that, because there are times that I'm like, no.
Yeah, I'm aware. Because I'm always like, things feel really gross right now. I need comfort. I need physical comfort. And you're like, things feel gross right now, and that makes you gross right now. No. Which is fine. Like, I think that that's honestly more normal than my response of like, oh, you're really upset with me. Will you just hug me while you're telling me about how you're upset with me? Because that makes me feel a lot better. Which is probably weird, but whatever.
Yeah.
And then the other one that I do a lot is the stop action. And I think for both of us, it ends with I'm going to go to the other room.
Yeah,
and that's all
much.
we say. I'm going to go to the other room.
Yeah. Okay, so I didn't categorize mine, but here's what I got.
Okay.
Taking a pause. So stop action. Using humor. Situation dependent.
Yes.
Because sometimes we argue about stupid shit, and that's usually where the humor can come in.
Yes.
Make, I guess this is also humor again, making reality TV comparisons.
Yes. Yes.
So,
like,
but
you're acting like this reality shit show.
But honestly, sometimes too, though, it isn't always humor dependent. I know that we can actually utilize those situations to better identify or define what's happening as well.
Specific behaviors.
Yeah,
like,
so
hey, I'm seeing this behavior in you that's reflective of this person. That
don't
we
be a
both think
Taylor
is
Frankie
awful.
Paul right now.
Neither of us is, though.
Oh my God, right?
Because I don't dislike her. She's just very reactive.
That's so true.
And like, I'm not, but I get it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I would say like out of the housewives.
The Mormon wives?
Yes. Sorry, the Mormon wives. Out of the Mormon wives, you would be a Michaela.
Ew.
Because she's
rude.
Well, but listen, she's pretty nice, but like sometimes in her interviews, I'm like, oh girl, you should say that in person. And I think sometimes you're like very, very nice, but like some of the things you say to me, I'm like, you should just say that in person to that person. Say that for real.
You're right.
You need to say that for real.
I am pretty bad about being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Especially outside of our relationship.
Yeah. I feel like
you're like a Macy.
I'm a Macy for sure. Yeah.
You're like holding it all together, and you're pretty good at keeping folks level-headed, but you're also like, No, he's a jerk and I don't understand why you're with him, but like I love you, so I'm here, but like you should probably get it together.
Yeah.
Okay, that was such a sidetrack.
But I think our people would enjoy it and appreciate that, especially
That's
if they'd be watching The Mormon Wives
oh my
too, because
gosh,
they'd be like, "Oh my God,
a
right?"
train wreck. Yes. Yes,
Okay.
fair.
So the next question within this, or the next two questions, is what repair attempts in your relationships are best at de-escalating conflict, and which ones only make matters worse?
Mm,
And so I basically divided the four that I put in here. So simple
mm.
apologies. Oh, sorry. And my last one was a simple apology,
Oh.
was what I'm comfortable doing. So I kind of basically divided it, those four there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think our relationship, we're good at simple apologies, taking a pause, and using reality TV. And
Mm-hmm.
I think the only one that can make matters worse is humor, occasionally, depending on the situation.
Yeah. Yeah. I said the repair attempts that are best at de-escalating conflict was me giving a I'm sorry,
Hmm.
or the um getting to yes, the like I see what you're saying, does that mean this? But also, I think that what works really well is when either one of us can be really, really clear
Hmm.
about what we're feeling and why.
Yeah.
Like, well, I'm just feeling this way because of this thing. And that clarity seems to work really well for us.
Yeah.
I also agreed, though, that which one makes matters worse. Trying to joke when things are still really heated, I think, is really the only one. Is using that humor in the wrong moment,
Yeah.
leveraging it in the wrong moment, which can be finding the right moment can be hard sometimes.
That's also true.
We all have picked the wrong moment to crack that joke.
Oh, yeah. 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 So the next activity was signs of flooding. And it says, do you think emotional flooding might be a problem in your relationship? Mentally answer the following questions to get a sense of whether or not this may be true for you and your partner. And so we're not going to, I'm just going to say this. Let me just read these questions first, and then we can just move forward. So the questions that it asks are, so if you're listening to this, this might be a moment in time to ask this of yourself or your partner. But when it comes to signs of flooding, do our discussions get too heated? Have I had a hard time calming down? Is one of us going to say something we will regret? Why can't we talk more logically? And my partner has a long list of unreasonable demands.
True.
And so it's true or false for those questions. So true or false. And this might give you a little bit of an idea of maybe some of the areas in which you need to do some work with yourself or with your partner or together.
Yeah. And I was just joking. Your demands are not unreasonable. It's just a
Damn right they're
long
not.
list.
I just want you to know that I picked all false for those, by the way.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yes.
So the next part of this is self-soothing because male, female, masculine, feminine, regardless, we all do feel flooded with emotion from time to time. So self-soothing is a very personal thing. It's very dependent on you and what makes you feel calmer. So
Mm-hmm.
we're just going to share each of our lists of what we do for self-soothing, um, and then we'll give a couple little tips. So, sweetness. Tell me, did you do five?
I did do five.
Okay, I only came up with four. But
Okay.
go ahead with your five.
Okay, so when it comes to self-soothing, by the way, just quick science fact here, that if your heart rate gets over 100 beats per minute, that means you are flooded and you cannot listen or hear to what anybody is saying.
Mm-hmm.
If you're an athlete, it's 80 beats per minute. And so you
Yes.
can find some devices that allow you to check your heart rate, so on and so forth, so you can double check if you are in a space to be able to continue on with a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
My list was to exercise. And so for me, that could be going to the gym. It could just be even going for a walk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Taking a shower,
Okay.
listening to music,
Okay.
laughing. So sometimes social media, I'll just scroll through that.
Okay.
And then gardening
Hmm.
if it's the right season.
Fair enough. I like those.
Thank you.
Okay. So my list, like you said, I only had four. I had deep breathing.
Mm,
That just
I do that too.
as a person with anxiety, deep breathing has been a calming technique I've used for, a couple decades at this point. So it's very ingrained in me to kind of go to that first. Um, and honestly, if you don't have any self-soothing techniques, is the number one thing that I would recommend personally
Mm-hmm.
is practicing deep breathing techniques. Right. So my list, deep breathing, reading,
Mm,
scrolling, and playing a digital game.
mm, fair enough.
So those are my top self-soothing. Those are really the only things that I do to self-soothe. I don't have a long list. But on to that end, I will say anyone who does not have self-soothing techniques or does not have healthy self-soothing techniques, number one thing I would recommend is deep breathing exercises. You can do, there's YouTube videos that will do walkthroughs of visualizations you can do with breathing exercises. Secondarily, you could do meditation videos, do a 15-minute guided meditation, 20-minute guided meditation. There's a slew of those on YouTube. So, really, those are well documented, scientifically backed methods to calm your physiological response.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'd highly suggest those. If you don't have other alternatives for yourself already,
Mm-hmm.
then deep breathing or meditation would be my top places to start.
Very good.
So, beyond that, soothing each other. So once you have been able to bring your physiological response down, being able to soothe your partner, well, let me read directly from the workbook. Soothing your partner is of enormous benefit to your relationship because it's really a form of reverse condition. In other words, if you frequently have the experience of being calmed by your spouse, you come to associate him or her with feelings of relaxation rather than of stress. This automatically increases the positivity in your relationship. There are many different ways to calm your spouse. What matters most is that your partner determines the method and enjoys it. Soothing each other regularly is a wonderful way to prevent future flooding and to enrich your partnership. We actually have not gone through this exercise yet. We wanted to do it live for you, our fabulous listeners. So, sweetness, to comfort each other, you first need to talk earnestly about flooding. Ask yourself and each other these questions and record your answers. What makes you feel flooded, my love?
I think the thing that makes me feel flooded the most is when I feel like I'm not being heard. So
Mm.
like if we're having a conversation or a disagreement and so that's the first one, feeling like I'm not being heard. So
Mm-hmm.
I think you and I we have gotten out of the habit of paraphrasing
Mm.
what the other person said to make sure that we are understanding what they were saying.
Fair.
And so I know that can make me feel flooded. And I think the other thing that gets me flooded is sometimes your responses, I can't tell if you're being facetious
Mm.
or being like snarky when you're not being snarky. So, like, the other day is a perfect example. I don't remember what had happened, but we were getting some of the property stuff together, and one of the dates didn't align
Mm.
with the
Mm-hmm.
statement of the length of lease. And you said something like,
There was a typo, and I
yeah,
and I pointed out, oh, I shouldn't say that.
but that's not how you said that.
Okay. That's not how you interpreted how I said
Your tone of voice was
that.
definitely not like that. So, anyways, my point being is that if the way that I hear something sounds a certain way, but then I ask you about it, and then
Mm.
your response to what I ask you sounds exactly the same way that I interpreted it, it starts making me flooded. Be-
So tone can make you feel flooded.
yeah.
Tone and feeling unheard.
Hmm. Yeah, because verbal communication is like only 13% actually words.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
What about you?
Um, honestly, the one thing that makes me feel like the most flooded is the space between you telling me that you're upset with me and you explaining to me why. Knowing that you're upset with me without knowing why you're upset with me is very difficult. Is like just sets my entire body on fire.
Yeah, and sometimes I don't even know. And so I do have to say that sometimes. I'm like, I'm just so annoyed with you right now, and I don't even know why. I have to think about it.
Yeah, and even that I'm fine with. That is fine. But when you're like, I'm so annoyed with you, and I'm like, why? And you're like, I never mind. And
Hmm.
then I'm like, oh God, oh shit, what's happening? Oh God, oh fuck, oh Jesus, I'm gonna die. I don't know
Yeah,
why, but that's such a hard thing for me.
yeah.
The other thing I would say is I get stuck on my point and I get very flooded, I think, when I am stuck on my point and I guess similar to you. Like I don't feel like I'm being heard. Like I'm trying to make a very specific point, and even if you understand it, if you haven't acknowledged that point, I start getting like really frustrated. Like you're not seeing it.
Oh
And
my
you're like, "Oh my god,
God.
I'm past that
We make each other
already."
flooded because can I just tell you that there have been moments where I'm like, okay, and you still are stuck on your point, and it's like you keep circling in a loop even though I have told you that I understood. And so it's
Yeah,
like,
but
what do I need to say to you to tell you I get this?
I you have to reiterate it to me.
Yeah.
You have to paraphrase phrase it back to me so that I know that you know what I'm saying. Because that's
I
always
would,
what
but can I
stops
also
it.
tell you that that's one of the things that floods me is that uh sometimes you don't stop talking.
Yeah,
And I'm
that's
like, I
fair.
can't
Because I'm so worked up, I
I
can't shut
can't
up.
say anything right now. So
And
it
I'm
just
just like,
lets you
why are you
go.
saying anything? Why don't what is happening? You aren't even making me feel better, and I'm just so upset, and I just don't understand why you're not even saying anything. What's going on? And you're like, where was I supposed to say something in that?
Yeah. So note to listeners, maybe this is you.
So I guess for me, it's not even not being heard; it's feeling like I'm not being understood. Because being heard and being understood are very different
Yeah.
things, and being understood is such a sticking point for me.
So I guess I could then put for mine, not letting me speak floods me.
Yeah, I've got not being heard down. I wrote it down.
But
Okay.
can we just point out though, like in this moment, we
Mhm.
felt like we knew, but just the dialogue between us actually has
Yeah.
allowed us to define it even more.
Yeah, and I think it's good too to be able to understand at what point to start looking for the flooding in your
Hmm.
partner,
Yeah.
right? Because now that I know that these are the times to look for it, this is where I can be a little bit more sensitive to the
Hmm.
to the fact.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we typically bring up issues, feelings of irritability, or complaints? Can I just say, I'm going to answer this first. I think we do typically start with a soft startup.
I think that we do too. Yeah.
Typically.
Hmm.
I will say, feelings of irritability is probably the one place that we don't do so well with. But I will say a lot of times we will both acknowledge that it is mainly a hormonal issue
Hmm.
or like a chemistry issue if we're the timing of our medications is off or something. But we're both very self-aware of those
Mm-hmm.
things. And so we're also both very good at being able to point out, like, I'm very irritable right now.
Yeah.
But again, that puts me in the flooded place of like, but why? But why? Why are you flooded? Is it me? Oh my God, it's me.
I think I
Oh
have
my
got,
God,
I
if
think
it's me, what did I do?
I think I have gotten better when it comes to feelings of irritability, of just basically being like, here's why.
Hmm.
Okay, so do either of us store things up? I do.
Yes. We both do. I think we do it for different reasons and we do it in different ways.
Yeah.
I know that I certainly do a lot of looking at the justification and if it's justified for me to be upset with you,
Mm,
because I do tend to take things very personally.
yeah.
And so I try very much to think about whether or not it's actually reasonable for me to be upset. And when I then determine that, yes, it is reasonable for me to be upset, well, at that point, I've been holding on to it for a minute. So
Mm.
there's that.
I
But
feel like
it's not that I'm trying to like build up a mountain of things to throw at you.
right. I feel like I do the same thing, trying to understand if it should be reasonable that I'm upset. I also feel like it's sometimes not even if I'm trying to understand if I should be upset, as it is more so I can see how being upset is not helpful
Hmm.
to you. And I think the other problem that I have in a lot of different areas is I can walk the fence. I can understand things from both
Mm,
sides.
yeah.
And because I can see things from both sides, I tend to put my thoughts and feelings on the back burner and lean on the side of caution of like, don't even bother because this is why, and I can understand it and I can see how blah 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 blah, and which
Right.
ultimately is not helpful.
And it's kind of interesting too, because there are times where I can tell that you're annoyed about something that is a perpetual problem for us. And even in those moments, I almost wish you would just say, I'm just annoyed because you did the thing,
Yeah,
so that I can be like, yeah, I get that.
I did.
And that it would just be out in the open instead of us both just sitting silently holding on to, oh, she's annoyed because they did the thing. And you
I
being
feel like
like,
I did
I'm
a good
annoyed
job with
because
that
she
this
did the thing.
morning.
You did an excellent job
Thank
with that this
you.
morning. And I really appreciated that.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
All right.
So, is
Okay.
there any
Is there anything I can do that soothes you?
hand holding? I
Yeah.
think that's the biggest thing for me during conflict, is being able to have actual physical contact,
Mm-hmm.
even just something as simple as holding hands, helps me work through the feelings of flooding. It helps
Okay.
keep that at bay
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. I think that but for me, after a moment of time, when I've settled, I do love it when you rub my chest.
Yeah. Yeah. Over the top two or three ribs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right at my collarbone, just below my
Mhm.
collarbones.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sternum rub.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Is there anything I can do that soothes me? So I know that like in the middle of conflict, I do a lot of deep breathing.
Same.
Even in my work meetings, I do a lot of deep breathing.
Yeah, you do.
A lot. A
I
lot
mean,
of deep breathing.
honestly, it is I think one of the most basic scientifically backed,
Mhm.
research proven methods to calm the body's physiological response to any form of stress, really.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, right? It doesn't even have to be with your partner. So like a great
Yeah.
example is I had an unexpected work meeting thrown on my calendar for
With less than a half hour's notice.
which I didn't even get until the meeting started. Thank God I actually did my hair and makeup that day because otherwise I've been hopping on like a hot mess.
Mhm.
But in that moment, I could see myself in the camera. I could see myself deep breathing because I could feel my
The
heart rate
stress, yeah.
accelerating. And one of the things, and I think this is a really good point because if I had a heart rate monitor on, I was probably pushing 100 beats.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm 100% sure I probably was.
No one can keep their heart rate under 100 beats per minute when there's an unexpected meeting with HR thrown on your calendar.
Yeah. And so that I could hear it. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. I could feel it in my chest.
Yep.
And I literally had to do deep breathing to maintain the ability to have that conversation, which was also not pleasant. But then, and I know that my face was also saying everything, which was very displeased. But then after a few minutes of deep breathing, I could still feel my heart rate being higher. But after that deep breathing, I then noticed the shift in my own head where I went from like this panic, oh shit mode to like, oh, no.
Here's the steps that we're going to take to get
we're
through
not
this.
having this conversation like this. And so I was
you were able to regain control of yourself.
I was able to regain that control. And because I was able to regain that control, I was able to take control of the meeting and disprove what they were trying to ultimately prove, which was completely inaccurate.
Yeah.
So just know this deep breathing works not only with your partner, but at work too.
Yeah. And it can be something as simple as inhale for 8 seconds, exhale for 8 seconds.
Yeah.
I personally prefer a visualization with deep breathing, but it's all about what works for you and what can calm your body down, what can calm your physiological response.
Okay, so that wraps up all of our activities. There's actually still the compromise circle that comes through this book, which I think is fantastic. And if you want for us to record this as a bonus episode where we talk about sex and our compromise circle, then give us a 5-star review and put bonus in your comments. So we will do that for you all.
Give us the bonus.
Give us the bonus. Is that what you want them to say?
Give us the bonus, or compromise sex circle.
Compromise sex circle.
I mean, it's compromise circle on sex, but
fair enough.
Whatever floats your fancy while your fingers fly across the keyboard.
Stop, you're so inappropriate. And I love it so much. One last thing to keep in mind is that when you're going through this process and you're having conflict within your relationship, just remember there is nobody recording the conversation, and there's not going to be a play-by-play that you can look back to say who was right and who was wrong. Ultimately, our goal is to, in any kind of conflict within our relationship, is to understand our partner's subjective reality. They come to the table, as do you, with your own personal history, your own personal traumas, your own personal viewpoints and beliefs. And so when you're going through conflict, your goal is to understand them as a person and as an individual. And how can you bring these two worlds together to basically tackle the problem and create a really amazing, healthy relationship?
Absolutely.
So until next week.
Indeed.
Before we sign off, here is an upcoming opportunity from LoveSpark. Join us at Lansing Pride on June 27th from 1 to 9 p.m. and we'll have a special release just for Pride.
Once again, we want to thank all of our fabulous listeners for joining us this week on the LoveSpark podcast. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button.
Along with subscribing, please remember to visit us at milovespark.com, follow us at LoveSparkDates on Instagram and Facebook, and join us again next week for another fabulous episode.
Indeed.